Hi everyone, and welcome to this stream of the character creator in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, currently you can't really see what's going on because we're having a few technical difficulties, but we're going to get all of that sorted out in a moment. Hopefully you'll start seeing what we're seeing, and I think you can now. Big question is, of course, can you hear what we're saying? I think we can. I think you can probably hear the background music as well. It won't be on camera in this session, but we are streaming on YouTube, so of course feel free to throw in your comments as well. So I thought I'd go through the character creator now that we've got the full release of the game, so that everyone understands what's exactly going on. Now, you've got several options here. You've got the origin characters, and each origin character does have their own story. You've got the option to hear the story. You've got the introduction right here that you can click on. So, for example, I've selected Karlach, and I thought we'd just listen to her backstory just as an example of what we can expect. So let's have a listen to it.
I was sold to the Archdevil Zariel. She put a Hellfire engine in my chest and made me her prize soldier. But I've escaped now. Thank you, Mind Flayers. And I've got a few scores to settle. If this engine doesn't burn me to ash first, I'll need people I can trust. An infernal mechanic and a serious amount of luck. But you know what? I'm not worried. After 10 years in the Hells, I can take on anything. I've got my chance at freedom, and believe me, I'm going home.
Okay, we just saw there then a summary of Karlach's backstory. Now, you can play as one of these origin characters, but if you choose to do so, you might not see the resolution of their story. So my advice to you is always play as either the Dark Urge or create your own custom character. Now, for this session, I'm going to go through the creation of the custom character just to give you some idea of the different options that you have. So I'm going to click on custom here. Now, I have to say I'm not 100% impressed by the character creator, because we can see that in other games we get more options, like changing the distance between the eyes, the size of the nose, the position of the nose, things like that. We just don't get that in BG3. It's a minor irritation. So anyway, I've got a tiefling here. You can see that we've got those 6 all-important scores: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And you can see the information for each of those particular characteristics right there. I've got the opportunity to change the body type as we go from male and female. We've even got the option for randomizing appearance. So if you're not even that interested in creating your character, you can just deal with that. Most people, I think, are pretty interested in creating their own characters. So that's what we're going to do. So we can zoom in. So we've selected that we're going with tiefling, but you can see that there are also these other options available to us. Drow, human, Githyanki, dwarf, high elf. I do like the high elves myself. You get a brief description of the half elves and some of their racial characteristics. Now, one very important aspect is that only certain races have sub-races. So, for example, within the race of half-elf, we've got the sub-race high half-elf, which I seem to have chosen there. I could, of course, gone with a completely different option there, but for whatever reason, I've gone for the high half-elf, as you can see. I could have chosen the wood elf. There's an example of a wood elf there. Or even a drow, the drows that tend to exist underground. So, if I decided, let's go with the drow, how else can we randomize this character? Well, as I said, there's not a massive amount that you can do. If we go to edit appearance, we can see, for example, I've already told you about the body type. We can go from male to female if we wanted to. And of course, we can demo the voice that we want to use.
Where to next?
As an example. So you've got a minimum selection of heads here. Let's select this one. And obviously you've got the options for changing the skin color if we wanted to. We could make it that. We can make it that. We can alter it any way we want based on the available colors. Okay. Moving on, you can see we've got the option for scarring to show that this individual is a battle-worn warrior, for want of a better term. So we could throw on a couple of scars here, there, and everywhere. That one's particularly nice, I think. I'll just rotate it around. It's on the lip and it's above the left eye there. So we might just leave that. Of course, you can change the maturity. This was pointed out in the release showcase by Larian. So we can age the character if we wanted to. Add freckles, add an intensity to the freckles, and of course we can put in vitiligo if we wanted to. Yes, you can see the option there to select genitals. I won't go there as this is a live stream. Okay, so body art, we can decide whether we want to add tattoos to the face. We can even decide whether we want to add piercings as well. So if you're into that sort of thing, then that's something you're going to want to do. Of course, when it comes to eyes, we can select eye color. We can select the option to have alternate eye colors as well. And the other things in terms of makeup, you know, the standard things that you would expect to see in the character creator, the color, the tint, and all of that. Different hairstyles, although I pretty much like the hairstyle that's already there. There has been an update to the game the day after release, and I was reading the update. It did have something to do with hair as well. Maybe there was some sort of bug related to that they were able to fix. So we've selected, or at least we've decided to stick to that hair. Of course, we've got options for changing the hair color if we want, whether we want to add graying, whether we want to add highlights. I always find this rather interesting when you're creating a female character, which is facial hair. I suppose if it's a dwarf, then you might want to add that. So there's our brief, very brief overview of what you can expect to see in the character creator. I don't want to go back to the main menu, so let's just pull out of that. We're finished with facial hair, so we'll go back to the general tab there. So once we've made all of those choices, and you can clearly see that the choices aren't as big as, say, what you might expect in some other AAA titles. What immediately comes to mind for me is all the stuff that we've already seen for Starfield and certainly Cyberpunk 2077. So if I had any criticism of the game so far, it would be that the character creator could be a little more detailed. But, you know, once we've decided on what we want, in terms of overall looks, I can decide whether I want to be a barbarian or a bard. There's always an animation for that. Whether I want to exist as a cleric. And one thing you'll notice is that there are cantrips and spells for each class, as you would expect based on the Dungeons and Dragons 5e rule set. I do like rogues because they're good with the blades, as I'm sure you know. So I might just stick with that character. I've never played as a warlock or a sorcerer or a wizard, so that might be something I'll do a little later. So as I said, each particular class has a certain set of cantrips allocated to them, as well as spells. And as you can see, it says right there, choose the spells you know from the list below. Spells require spell slots to cast unless a feature states otherwise. So we can swap out our spells if you want. So if I didn't want Magic Missile, I could perhaps select Sleep. And there we go. So another subclass, do I want to exist as a wild magician? As it says, your powers come from ancient forests of chaos. They churn within you, waiting to burst free at any time. Do I want a draconic bloodline? That's always very interesting. Or do I want storm sorcery? What's that about? Whether crackling with the energy of ancient deluges or pierced by gales and hurricanes, your lineage is a strange tapestry scrawled by a tempest. That's quite a mouthful, actually, but there you go. So there's our subclass selected. I think we're going to go with storm sorcery as an example. And then, as most people know, the background is all important. It tells us more about the character. You've got several options here. Do I want to be an acolyte, a charlatan, a criminal? That's always interesting. I think I will go for a noble. Why not? You were raised in a family among the social elite, accustomed to power and privilege. Accumulating renown, power, and loyalty will raise your status. And as a result of that selection, you can see a skill set of history and persuasion. Persuasion, I found, is always very useful as you're moving through the game. So, having selected all of that, we've now got the all-important points for the 6 characteristics. You can see that the highest score that I've got there is for charisma. If I want to change any of those proficiencies, I can. You can see the option down here by clicking on change. Then I can decide whether I want to go with some of the different options that we can customize in terms of our skills. So for example, as it says, if you're proficient in a skill, you add a bonus to those skill checks, making you more likely to succeed, as I'm sure most of us already know. So I can see that I've got a +3 for Arcana and a +5 for Deception. I'll just leave those as they are. So that is essentially my character created. Now, once I've gone through all of that and I click on proceed, it's going to auto select my partner, and then I'll be ready to go. And that's when the game begins. So as I said, this is a brief overview without going into the technical details of all the required elements within D&D 5e. It's just a simple walkthrough of how you can create a character in this brand new game. So I'm hoping that everyone's managed to download it now. I will be doing some gameplay a little later, but this live stream was really just about showing you the different options that are available to you in this game. So for those who are paying attention in the live stream, thanks for doing that. And for those who are watching the recording, we've got lots of other videos on this channel. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. Okay. And we are out. Bye bye.